Hi guys, my name is Ribbon Phoenix, and this is lesson 4 of drawing the human figure from your mind. So in this lesson, we are now going to begin to understand the invention looking at it from a side angle. And in doing this, our brain is going to slowly begin to comprehend how the invention is to be understood in three-dimensional. So we're not going to do like 3/4 views. We're actually going to just do a side pose and get the rules down for understanding our invention from its side angle. So as before, I'm going to go ahead and make those 2 dots. You'll notice now I'm not making a line, which I don't need to at this point, because and you should be doing the same thing because we understand the concept of the core structure. So again, we'll mark the middle of the line, and you should measure it. I happen to be on an angle, so it's sometimes really hard to tell where the center is. So here is actually the center for me. Next, again, we divide this in 4 parts, and then I'll divide again, giving me the 8 heads, since our invention is only being based on the 8 head concepts. So now I've got the 8 sections. Okay, so for the side pose, the first rule, we will say that if we had a line here, let's say a straight line, to determine the design of the head, we're going to say that from the middle we're going to make a line at a slight angle, and it doesn't come all the way down to the bottom, because this is the ending of the chin. So the chin would be here, and this would go up, representing the angle of the chin. So here, this allows me to go up and make an egg shape for the head. Okay, so now this helps us understand when we look at the construction of our invention, which is the skull here. We can now see this in 3D. Okay, I see. So from the front, it was being represented like so, in its most simplest form, but from the side, this is how it actually looks. It goes under here. So the next item, sorry about that noise. So the next item is we are going to now just draw this line for the spine and stop for now over here. So we had said that from the bottom of the chin, 1/3 down would be where the collarbone meets, and over here we had made a mark here. So for here, we can now determine in our invention, okay, if the collarbone is here, it has to exist in 3D space somewhere here, right? So we can at least now draw the opening of the rib cage here, specifying that this is where the V is actually sitting. And the next item was that on the bottom of the second head would be those 2 nipples, right? And if we have those 2 nipples exactly over here, we can say that yes, this comes on an angle representing where the nipples would be for the chest. And then if you remember, I had done this and then made a little upside down U to specify where the sternum would be. So you can say, yeah, the sternum can be a little straight, but now this begins to help you understand how the design of the rib cage in our invention is going to be constructed. Because when we look at the navel, we had said that if we looked 1/3 down and we had understood that the love handles will go up, and a little bit above would be the actual, like almost the 2/3 of this, the depth measuring from down, would be the bottom of the rib cage. We can now make an angle here and just say this is where it ends, and then go all the way back up. So now this gives you a simplification of the design of the rib cage for our invention. So remember, we want to stay away from symbolism. We're creating these designs as concepts which we think are original, and that's what we want to do. We want to keep disassociate from symbolism. So now you have the spine and you go down, and since we knew where the love handles were, we can say that, okay, so if the love handles are here, and we know that the navel is going to be here, and the stomach muscles for this invention are going to be around here, we can from here start to make our hip construction where the buttocks is, the whole design of it. So if this is where the navel is, then we can say it goes down like this. We can now start going down, and just know that where the crotch is, the crotch sits at the very beneath of the actual hip construction. So for this, we'll just go all the way over here and make a design just like this. Now, so for this, I would say you want to practice this a little bit here, because it's really understanding what is the design. So for this, you can see the way I made this design, I just went this way and then I went this way, giving me a 90 degrees angle, and then I made a curve here and just came down, giving it an odd-like shape. And this is important to understand about the design of our invention in going into these directions. How does the makeup of the buttocks area, the hip construction, look like? And if you look at the chest area, it's the same concept. So we say that going down in this angle, we go down and above, we go this way horizontally, then we had gone this way, and then we had made an angle specifying in this direction. And this gives us the design of our chest area. So here's where the crotch was, and if you look back to the front pose, we had said that above the crotch, the 2/3 would be here, would be the actual hip joint, right? So if that's the case here, we have to now determine where should the hip be placed. So in this design, we're going to say that if we had a straight line going down, we would say that the hip 2/3 up would stay to the right of our crotch, not exactly on the line, but to the right. And we will make a dot over here. And here is that dot here. So for this, where the upper leg now needs to be drawn down, we had specified that for this invention, when we go down, we would stop and make that knee joint. So where should the knee joint be placed in our invention? Okay, so now here's the understanding of gravity for our invention. We know that in order for this human invention to stand up, if we drew a line here, it has to balance itself out here. So we can't draw the legs just standing here, otherwise it will fall backwards. So when we draw the upper leg, we're going to say that we will start here and we would end at the left of the bottom of the 6th head and make a circle here. So it comes from an angle. It gives us like almost an S shape. And then to finish off the lower leg, we would now draw a line at a curve and stop behind the last dot. If you can see this. And then we will make our feet. So this allows the invention now to stand up on its own without falling to the left or the right. And it helps us understand how gravity works in the human form as to how they're able to stand up. So the next item is that once we had the V shape, remember from the navel, we would draw two lines determining where the landmarks for the shoulder were. We can now pretty much guess from here, if we had thought about this in three-dimensional, if the nipples was here, we could draw a line, specify that, yeah, right in the around the middle on this line would be the actual joint for the shoulder. And now you can now see how you can now determine the length of the arm, because we know that the navel is here, and for this we had stopped. I'll do it on this side so we don't get messy. We stopped at the navel, giving us the elbow joint. We can now go down and stop right here, because if we put this on an angle, this is where the elbow is. And then to make the lower arm, we stopped right under the crotch, giving us the stopping point out of the wrist. And then if we drew this, let's say at an angle over here, we could now draw at a slight angle like this to determine where the wrist would end, because it has to be on an angle. It's like a pendulum. So here you get the wrist, and then we can just draw the arm out. So this basically now gives you the understanding of how your figure needs to look when it's standing, when we're looking at it from the side pose. So in the next lesson, we're going to now construct our invention from the back view. And once we've done this, we'll put everything together and start to understand what is it that we can now do with this information. And this is going to now get into understanding your invention as a toolkit that exists in your head. We have the basic construction down, but we're keeping everything simple. We're not at the actual elite phase of creating our invention to a very high standard where we know exactly how each angle is supposed to be. We haven't even gotten into that yet. So right now it's just being simple, and we'll take and see how we can apply this invention into real life in life drawing. And so I look forward to meeting you again. I hope you join me. Thank you.